flower friends, we're back at it. I've been asked to make a bouquet as a gift for somebody, so I thought I would bring you along. I've got the same flowers as I used in my yesterday's arrangement. This time I've added a bit of sedum, and for greenery for our bouquet, I've got magnolia leaf, and I've got some eucalyptus that I grew. Join me. Now, starting off with greenery in your bouquet is probably the most important thing. This is going to set you up for success. This is going to allow a nice base for your flowers to sit on top of and really stand out. So like my arrangement yesterday, I was doing the layering technique. I like to apply this with my bouquets as well, which is kind of starting with one thing at a time and working upwards like a cosmos right next to a dahlia, right? So you can see the visual weight of these is a little bit different, especially if I turn this on a side profile. So this is going to want to sink down and this can kind of float upwards. I like to kind of set that up with my bouquets, creating negative space as well with your flower placements. I'm actually going to put my greenery down. The thing about being efficient and setting yourself up for success is making sure that every stem is cleaned and ready to go so that you're holding your bouquet with one hand and you can just grab every stem and go and put it in your bouquet. You don't have to do anything one-handed. You're not worrying about trying to strip any leaves, at the binding line. That is going to be really annoying. We're going to break stems because I have done that, trying to do too much at once. So just setting yourself up for success is going to be the best idea. So that means just taking all my leaves, all my stems, and cleaning everything up as I go. And don't be afraid to make a mess. Any flower shop that I've ever worked at, the floor is a freaking sty, okay? There's leaves everywhere, and we just cleaned up at the end of the day. We do one big sweep, because if you're making constant bouquets throughout the day, you're not gonna be, unless it's wet and you've made a spill, you're not gonna be, finicky about every little leaf that falls. You're just gonna do a big sweep at the end of the day. So that's what I do. It also kind of keeps my head in the design mode. The more I stay focused and start the task from A to B, finish it, the better I design, I find. But also, don't be afraid to start again. If your bouquet, too many things have shifted in your bouquet and you're not really loving it anymore, don't be afraid to start again, honestly. You can actually break flowers and make it worse for yourself if you keep trying to fix the bouquet. Maybe you're cutting it too short, stems are too short, and then you can never get the length back, right? So it's okay sometimes if I'm really frustrated and things aren't really going the way that I see them in the bouquet, or I don't know, I've just gotten a little frustrated. I put my flowers down, put them back in water, and I go take a walk. I step away for like 10 minutes. Honestly, coming back with fresh perspective, with fresh eyes, is like the best thing you can do creatively, right? Giving yourself a little bit of a break and not trying to force it. That is so important. Okay, so I've picked up my greenery and we're gonna start with our filler flowers. So for filler flowers, I've got 2 stems of sedum, and instead of following the left to right every time, which I will do in the front, you can also thread through stems in the middle of your bouquet, still angling them from left to right, but instead of going from the first insert point is like the kind of at the front or the back of the bouquet, you can kind of turn it and thread it through in the middle. So see, if I thread it through my hand, it's gonna come through at the back, but still going left to right. I hope you can see that. This way, you can get flowers in the middle, and it's just a little bit more precise when you're inserting your stems. I'm just gonna go around and following the left to right on the outside as well. And as you go all the way around, I'm going to thread it through and have some at different heights. You don't want everything to be the same. And then that way I have kind of an even distribution of my filler around my greenery, just to kind of tie it together. Okay, so the next thing is going to be your mass flowers. So I've got my dahlias here. I've got the poodle skirt, lifestyle, and then I'm not sure what this variety is, but it's beautiful. So I'm going to start with the biggest of the dahlias, which is going to be this lifestyle, threading it through the middle, but also coming down, and I'm going to have it sit in this little hole right here, a little bit further down, so it's going to be about the same height as everything else. And since I have 3 stems of this, I know that I can distribute it in the front and the back So I'm actually going to pull this one a little bit further forward, coming from the front, and see how those can sit at the same. I'm gonna do the same at the back, a little bit higher up. And that way I've got these all the way around the bouquet. You can kind of see. The back still looks interesting. Then, got one more dahlia. I like the look of this one, so it's gonna be a little bit further forward, just so that it's front and center. Next thing I'm gonna add is my focal flowers. So I've got 2 stems of echinacea, threading it through the middle, going left to right. Now I like that one standing out a little bit more just because it's white. It's actually one of the only white things I'm gonna have in this bouquet, so I do want it to stand out a little bit more. And the other echinacea I have, you can see this, is pink. So I'm actually gonna group those together, even though it's a different color, and put that just a little bit further back. The next items that I have to add are gonna be my zinnias. So a lot of different brighter colors, but because these ones have such nice long stems, I'm gonna mix these all the way throughout. Sometimes if you're having trouble inserting as well, I like to turn my stems, kind of wiggle it. I find some low down as well. Sometimes there's double. So I would never put this into a bouquet just because down here you have a really short stem. So in an arrangement, if this was like where the tape was sitting or something, that would be okay. But because in a bouquet, you're gonna wanna have the buying line a little bit higher up, and having it like this is definitely gonna compromise the stems. I think it's gonna break. So what I would rather do would be to separate these. Even though one might be a little bit shorter than the other, I'm going to actually probably make them the same length if I cut the one on this side right here. Right at that line, so now I actually have 2 stems. Okay, so now that I've added in all my zinnias, in the back there, I've got my cosmos flowers, so that's what I have left, and I do have a nice assortment of varieties, so I've got the double click, so same idea. I'm just gonna follow my bouquet shape with my greenery and add these in a little bit higher, just so I have a really nice whimsical flow to my bouquet. And the cosmos really give you that wildflower look. If anything falls down or sinks in the middle, just don't be afraid to pull it up, but by the flower head, just very gently, or if you can single out which stem it is at the bottom, you can push it up. I'd say that was a little bit safer. Just be gentle. I'm gonna group those cosmos at the front there. Okay, so there we go. Got a really nice wildflower bouquet. All the way around, my flowers have filled in the greenery. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this, but first we need to cut the stems off. So you want to make sure that you cut them to basically where the shortest stem lies in your bouquet, and it looks like the majority of them are right down here. So get a nice pair of snips, and that's going to cut the outside. Just cut everything in a straight line if you can. Now you don't want to cut this too short. There is a bit of a rule when cutting stems, just to make it proportionate. You want to leave this about the same height as the majority of your bouquet. So I think that balance, that looks about right. It's not too long, right? It's not too short. It can still go in another type of vase. But I know when I wrap this in a wrap, it's just going to fit really nicely. So if you've got elastics, if you've got bind wire, florist string, anything like that, I've just got elastics here, so I'm going to group those probably along the magnolia stem because I know it's the strongest point. I'm just going to loop that around twice and back around, anchoring it. Hopefully you can see that on one of those stems. So we know. There we go. Thank you for joining me. Happy flowering.